What's up, guys? Today I've got my first video for Holiday Cup coming out. This is a team I've actually played in Kanto Cup. I never made a video about it though, because it was near the end of it. But yeah, it is as degenerate as usual. So let's take a look at how this team works. But first of all, huge shout out to all my Patreon supporters as we close out the year of 2020. You guys have been one of the few bright spots. But yeah, I'll get into the gameplay video and I'll start explaining how this team works. Some of you may be happy to see that Shadow Victreebel is actually back, and some of you may not. But this is yet again another Shadow Victreebel team. This time we're taking advantage of the very solid rock typing in this cup. Rock being super effective against both flying and ice, which are probably the most two common typings of the allowed types in Holiday Cup. We've Shadow Victreebel rounding out the lead here. You know, Shadow Victreebel has pretty good synergy with Alolan Graveler. These sets, I did play these sets on stream, so if you did watch my stream, you will have seen these games already. But I'll go over a little bit more in depth about why I'm making the decisions I do. I do make a lot of mistakes in these sets. These are my very first ones playing with this team. But at the same time, I think I only had positive sets so far with this team. I've been messing around with other ones since. And have not yet been able to replicate the success. But yes, once again, if I'm playing on stream, I don't play quite as cleanly, so I'll be able to talk about these mistakes and maybe hopefully everyone else can learn from them. So in this case, I am able to get 2 shields off this Alolan Sandslash, but unfortunately Alolan Sandslash is very threatening to this team. I have to go into my Alolan Golem here, and I'm threatened by Bulldoze and Ice Punch. Unfortunately, I swap really, really slow to this Sableye. If I had swapped a little bit faster, I would have been able to perhaps reach a Leaf Blade. But instead, I let this Sableye get a foul play off my Victreebel and take it out. So I'll be able to return a Wild Charge, but unfortunately this Alolan Raichu has a little bit too much health for me to be able to take down with just Volt Switches, and this Alolan Sandslash already has a move prepared. So once I've debuffed myself, so this is one of those cases where I kind of wish I was running Stone Edge instead of Wild Charge and Alolan Golem. I've debated making the switch many times now. So, but it seems to be some cases Wild Charge better, some cases Stone Edge is better. I see a Lantern lead here. This is a really good lead, and they swapped to Altaria. So if they swap to Altaria, it's usually a pretty good sign. It means that a lot of the time that Altaria is their best counter to Victreebel, because Altaria is the hardest counter to Victreebel. If people are swapping to their hardest counter, it usually means they have 2 Pokemon weak to Victreebel remaining. So it's my goal to take out this Altaria at all costs. I actually go for the Stone Edge here, but I really should have just went for the Rock Blast, identifying that they really did need to take my Graveler down. I will end up getting to a Stone Edge anyways, though, and now they have no shields versus this team. So unlike a lot of these other Shadow Victreebel teams, it's not absolutely necessary to keep shields up, just because with shields down, Graveler and Golem actually hit really hard. I'm going to come back in with the Golem, and they're just going to GG out with Frostlass right there. Shadow Victreebel does beat Frostlass in the one shield, so it's good to stay in a lot of this time. But sometimes you'll see that actually gets you burned. So Vigoroth, this is a Pokemon that you absolutely need to play or see in the front. You don't want to swap out of this. Alolan Graveler and Alolan Golem deal much worse with this. So what I do here is I'm counting moves. I actually throw my Leaf Blade there, and they're going to let it through. So instead of having to spend a shield or get down too low, I'm just going to spend my Leaf Blade, and that's fine. They're going to come in with Dugong, and they're forced to throw their energy too. So in this case, they still do have 2 shields, and I probably should have ended up swapping out in that case, just because my backline is also very good against Dugong. In this case, they still have 2 shields, so I'm obviously just going to keep going Rock Blast. I want to just get as much damage as I can out here. Technically, I probably should have went to the Wild Charge there, since I'm not going to get to that 3rd move. And then I'm going to swap right away. I don't want them to get too much energy. Not that it really matters. So Wigglytuff, I won't get to another move. And it's a Dazzling Gleam, but I'm going to be able to get to the Stone Edge, and Rock Blast would probably be enough, but you know what? You might as well. Be safe. Because, yeah, they have a Dugong coming up in the back as well. The Dugong doesn't have any energy, so it's not really that threatening. Lewis P as well. I actually think we faced a lot of streamers in these sets here. So Alolan Marowak lead. This is not great, but we're going to swap right out to the Alolan Graveler, and this is where I kind of realized we're going to have some issues with Unova and Stunfisk switch-ins, because what they can do is they can just farm all the way down. Like you threaten with Stone Edge. I would never bait versus this, but even once they get this Mud Bomb off and I don't shield, it doesn't take me out, so they're going to be able to get a ton of energy, and Victreebel is going to have some issues. In this case, it wasn't actually that much energy, but in other cases, it's been much worse. So Victreebel can handle a charge move, no problem, from Unova and Stunfisk. The problem is handling 2 charge moves. So in this case, I decided to take both, because I'm at full health, and I realized they have an Alolan Marowak in the back. So I need both my shields for Alolan Golem, because you need 2 shields. Like, this isn't a hard counter like some of the other rock types can be versus Marowak, just because Bone Club is 4 times super effective. So you can tank 1. I elect not to here because I don't know what they're hiding in the back. They're not swapping out, so I'm assuming it's something not very effective against Alolan Golem. And sneaking that Volt Switch through is actually absolutely huge. In this case, I would plan to just go Rock Blast, as Rock Blast does enough damage that I can farm down the Marowak. And I'm going to go for the double Wild Charge here and just really hope that this takes out the Snorlax. And it doesn't quite, but I'm able to swap into Victreebel to get that last hit in without risking a Body Slam. And then I'm going to be able to race to this Rock Blast and barely get that victory. I feel like this low Marowak was right at a Bone Club. So, very close game. Blue Speed for sure. Yeah, this team works pretty well. I did try Galvantula as a swap instead of Alolan Graveler. It went okay, but there were some things it was missing for sure. See, they swap in Frostlass here, and I'm just going to stay in. Because what happens is you just blow one shield, and even though it's an ice type versus a grass type, you can still beat this Frostlass. The problem is I do need Victreebel for Unova and Stunfisk still. And what they can do here is they can farm down on their Stunfisk. So what I'm going to do here is I Rock Blast. Oh, yeah, to try and get shields. I really don't want to Stone Edge because I want to end this matchup with as much energy as possible. And as little health as possible. The reason I Rock Blast there is because I want to weaken that Skarmory for just in case my Victreebel has to deal with it. And right now, luckily it's not Mudshot, so I'm not just getting completely farmed down. I need to get as much damage off as I can. If I can get to the 3rd Stone Edge, I can force a shield. But instead, I make an awful play. So this never should have happened. Yeah, this is maybe one of the worst plays I've ever made. I don't know why I swapped him to Victreebel to not only catch 2 moves, but not even get my Leaf Blade off. Because I was at a Leaf Blade. I could have won CMP, but I just didn't press the button. So this is how you lose a completely won game. Yeah. So learn from these mistakes. Either you let your Graveler get all the way farmed down and you just burn their shield with another Stone Edge, which is completely fine, and then you swap into Victreebel and just win CMP with Leaf Blade. But what you don't do is just sacrifice everything into the Unova and Stunfisk. So this was really poorly played by me. This set should have very easily been a 4-win, if not a 5-win set, but for poor play. So this just goes to show, I guess, how far this team can take you if you do the proper things. And even if you don't play well, 3 out of 5 is good enough to climb, that's for sure. Yeah. So, yeah, little climbs, but you know what? You can take what you get in Holiday Cup. I'm not too worried about rating at this point in the season. But we'll see how the rest of these games go. I think I have some pretty bad games where I don't play well, but you're going to see me really focus up in some of these games too. We got a Lapras in the lead here. Lapras versus Victreebel is pretty good. You have to blow shields. Technically don't have to, but you want to stay a little bit healthy to beat this Lapras. They're going to come with Skarmory, so when Skarmory switches in, that's when you bring in the Alolan Graveler and save your energy. A lot of the times, like if it was a Marowak, I would probably just spend my energy as well. But they're going to come back in with Vigoroth, and I'm going to no shield Body Slam here. It's a Bulldoze, which is fine. This means this Vigoroth has no energy. for my Victreebel, and I'm going to count to 4, fast move deny, and throw my Leaf Blade, so that they really have to think about shielding. They don't end up shielding, and they're going to bring back in Skarmory. So unfortunately for them, they didn't know I had a Alolan Golem in the back, and this is a pretty dominating matchup unless they're running Flash Cannon. Steel Wing is still not very good for them. It is better than Air Slash in this case. And I was just trying to win the game faster for the stream, so I'm not throwing any charge moves there. I could have easily double charge move, but they decided to drag that game out. Yeah, that game was over as soon as Golem was matched against Skarmory. But I wonder if the video froze there a little bit. Whoops. Okay, this next game, Howdy Mickey, we have Vigoroth into Victreebel. This is where you want to see the Vigoroth once again. Vigoroth's an absolute monster in Holiday Cup, that's for sure. And yeah, I'm going to swap out. This is what I mentioned earlier. Catch the second Body Slam on Alolan Graveler. It stops you from having to spend a shield. And most of the time with these double weakness teams, you're going to want to swap anyways, right? So Frostlass comes in. Frostlass, one of the reasons this team is pretty good is because Frostlass doesn't really have a place that it can come in comfortably. Victreebel beats it. Alolan Graveler beats it. Alolan Golem beats it. It's really hard for it to come in. I let him go down because I want to save my shields for Victreebel, and I actually have a Leaf Blade stored up, so I'm just going to throw that right away. The Powder Snows do add up in terms of damage. We'll see if I get a shield, and they do shield. So I debate not shielding here because I think that probably their best counter is gone, but they swap in Sableye, and I'm already at a Leaf Blade. So as you know, Leaf Blade absolutely destroys, and Sableye gets almost taken out, 100 to 0. Alolan Golem just needs to get to a charge move, and this game is over. But even if he didn't, Frostlass would have had to KO or get 2 avalanches because Shadow Victreebel still had enough health to take it out. So this set going a little bit better in terms of play. I'm properly catching moves, stuff like that. Instead of switching the wrong Pokemon in at the wrong times. We're seeing another Alolan Marowak lead, pretty common Pokemon in this cup. It's a pretty good Pokemon in general. Fire types are super valuable in this cup. If you can get anything with a secondary type fire, it's fantastic. So in this case, they CMP time me. This is great. I'm going to eat a Body Slam like it's nothing. And then because of this, I actually could have got to a Stone Edge. But I'm going to throw Rock Blast instead. So that's my first mistake. I learned from this one, though, I think, in the future, is that even with a Body Slam, you can get a Stone Edge. Unfortunately, they're also at a Body Slam, but I don't mind tanking a Body Slam at full health on Victreebel, especially if there's a Alolan Marowak in the front. So I'm going to swap into Alolan Golem, and they're going to immediately swap into Frostlass. And this game is now really hard. So because Alolan Golem outpaces Frostlass, it's not too bad if I'm getting 2 extra moves. But I've made this game hard for myself by not Stone Edging the Vigoroth and just winning switch advantage in the first place. So I now have an energy advantage against this Marowak, and a Bone Club will KO me from that range. So what I really need to do is get 2 wild charges off here. I throw 2 and then throw just because that's your own fast move counting in the 4v3, and I switch into Victreebel to empty their energy. Otherwise, well, I'm going to faint. So they undercharge perfectly. Well, they undercharge well after I caught that move, but unfortunately for them, oh, no, unfortunately for me, oh boy, don't remember this game. I'm not going to quite get to that Rock Blast. So yeah, perfect undercharge actually from them. If I got to that Rock Blast, it would have been game over. And unfortunately, I was just 1 Volt Switch away. So them's the breaks. Paco Pineda. It's my next opponent, and we're going to see a Lapras lead again. Lapras pretty strong as well. Water type's decent as well in this cup, but not versus Victreebel, of course. Victreebel loves to see these. And Skarmory's going to come back in. So Skarmory, pretty popular swap in afterwards. Not sure why Skarmory is popular in this cup. It doesn't seem to really do too much that something like Altaria couldn't, except for Beat the Charmers, of course, and they'd be much more common than I've expected. And in this case, I go for the second Rock Blast instead of going for the Stone Edge. So just a lot of really poor play from me. I throw the Leaf Blade there to get them to not throw their charge move at me. But this poor play won't matter because I've got the Golem versus Skarmory at the back. So this is why you switch out. Like, people always, I don't know, people playing double weakness teams, they don't switch out enough. You need to switch out. You need to give up switch advantage. It's counterintuitive, but you really need to do it. I see a lot of very good players play these kinds of teams incorrectly, leading to a lot of unnecessary losses and then a lot of questioning about, like, is it okay to run two things that are weak to Vigoroth in the back, right? What if the Vigoroth's in the back? Then, well, it should have been drawn out at some point, right? So we're going to see an Obscene lead here. Also where you'd like to see pretty much a Vigoroth, to be honest. And yeah, we're going to see, Night Slash. I'm going to shield the first one, but only because I was planning on catching the second one. Fortunately for me, they swap out. I'm going to throw a Leaf Blade before they throw, and then I'm going to swap as well because I want to save my Victreebel's health and shields for the Obstagoon. In this case, I can tank an Avalanche. A Shadow Ball is much harder to tank. But I fast move deny and try and get to a couple Rock Blasts to take this guy out. And unfortunately, this Obstagoon comes in and farms me down. I should have farmed a little bit more on the Graveler. That was a big mistake for me because now this Obstagoon gets to another move. And I'm forced to blow my last shield here. And luckily I do because Alolan Graveler switches in and they're not going to get to a move. So this is what happens if the Alolan Graveler either has poor IVs or if it catches a Razor Leaf on the way in. Then you don't need to shield a Rock Blast at all. If the Alolan Graveler has really good IVs, it actually will live and be able to get a Rock Blast off. So IV dependent matchup alert right there. I'm not sure if there is an attack IV that's important for Victreebel to hit that as well. But I have not heard of anything like that so far. I think it is on the Graveler side, like it's an HP IV or something like that. So I think that was a 4-1 set. Yeah, I don't think I had any 5-0 sets here. I don't play consistently enough on stream to get 5-0s. I don't think I've gotten a single one since I've started. But we're going to see a Gengar lead. So this one is pretty common too. Unfortunately, weak connection ruined my count. Gengar lead, if you get the leaf or extra Razor Leaf through, you can actually afford to only shield once. Otherwise, you do have to catch a move. In this case, Skarmory comes back in. So this has been a common theme. Lots of Skarmories for some reason on this day. I will once again bait with Rock Blast first once I get to the Rock Blast, and then I can go for a Stone Edge. Yeah, in this case, they don't throw a Body Slam, right? They're electing to farm me all the way down. Or do we CMP tie? We do. So this is perfect for me. I can actually choose to win switch advantage back, but I decide that shields are more important in this case. I'm going to come in with the Alolan Graveler. Oh wait, yeah, switch advantage isn't a thing here because I swapped. So Alolan Graveler, Golem. I probably would have, like, if you have a choice to come in with Alolan Golem or Victreebel after Graveler goes down, come in with Golem for sure. Being able to clear the Wild Charge debuff is absolutely huge. I'm going to get, well, I don't have to throw Wild Charges. I actually don't have to throw any moves at all. But people were not leaving games on this day, so I felt like throwing the Wild Charges might actually speed up the game. So the next game is against ER Black. And we have a Frostlass lead. So this is a pretty good lead. Unfortunately, I might be switching out of these in the future, though. Even though you have a pretty solid win against it. Just because the type of Pokemon that Frostlass usually brings with it. So I'm not sure if we're going to see that in this case. But yeah, look, we have a Shadow Victreebel here. And now I know this game is absolutely over. Like I said, if you swap in and catch the Razor Leaf, you just... You take that damage, you don't get to a Rock Blast, so I don't get to burn any shields. And watch, my Golem is going to be the same thing. Golem is squishier than Graveler, so Golem will never get to a Rock Blast. And this Victreebel is just going to solo my entire team. So yeah, Vigoroth, Frostlass, Victreebel there. I've seen this team a little bit before, just in different order. But yeah, so for example, in this case, if I'd swapped to my Victreebel earlier, I might have been able to actually beat that team instead. It still would have been incredibly tough. That was mainly a a team comp loss, but I could have played it better. It should not have been that lopsided. So they're going to swap out their Mandibuzz into Magneton, and I overcharged way too much. So this is, I kind of was tilted from the last game, I think. I should have just thrown the Stone Edge. What a big mistake. And then I let my Graveler go down. I know Magneton runs Magnet Bomb. And in this case, I blow a shield as well. So now I'm forced to blow a shield on Shadow Victreebel. And I'm going to have to blow another one or let my Victreebel go down. So I didn't even throw my Leaf Blade there. Even though I counted that they were at a Magnet Bomb, I don't throw it and I just let my Victreebel go down. So this game is essentially over. Okay, so I said the earlier game might have been the worst game I've ever played. I think this one is. So I don't know if, I just leave. I save everyone the hassle here. So they're running double electric as well, at least. Mandibuzz double electric. So very interesting team from them at least. But I did not play well. I think that long pause that was myself contemplating what I was doing right there. Very poor play. We're going to see an Altaria lead here, and I'm going to swap to Graveler, and they're going to swap to Vigoroth. So this is a pretty common situation as well. You're probably going to get tired of hearing me say it, but we're going to go Rock Blast Bait into Stone Edge. We'll see if they shield this one. And they don't, and I'm going to win back Switch Advantage and Shield Advantage with Alolan Graveler. So this was the game kind of paying me back, I think, for playing absolutely awfully and just like calling everything wrong last game. I'm getting all the right calls this game. So this Alolan Marowak has some energy, or no shields. But the thing is, I just need to clear the energy. That's why I swapped into Victreebel there. I know they have an Altaria, right? So if I can clear some of their energy with Victreebel, or it forces Marowak to throw, then I'm in a much better situation. So all I'm doing here is just making sure this Marowak is low enough that I can KO with a Rock Blast. Good catch by my opponent. They're really bringing back the game after a bit of a disastrous start for them. But I'm just going to, I don't know what I'm doing. Ideally, I should have charged to 2 Rock Blasts here. At least this one doesn't KO. So I'm able to take down this Altaria, and I'll have a Rock Blast for this Alolan Marowak ready to go. So this is the problem with not running Stone Edge on Alolan Golem. It makes that Altaria matchup just that much harder, right? You have to throw a couple Rock Blasts. It's a bit sketchy. Stone Edge just wouldn't take it out at that point. It's just such a powerful move. We'll see if we get any play from Wild Charge here. I think I've Wild Charged once, and we lost the game anyways. So, oh no, I Wild Charged Skarmory, but that's not necessary either. So Alolan Marowak comes in. I go into my Alolan Graveler. In hindsight, I might want to be switching into Alolan Golem, just because Alolan Graveler has better general matchups. And then you can Wild Charge at the end. But we're going to trade shields here. I'm going to get that extra Volt Switch through. Very important to continue outpacing this. The thing is, I can take a Bone Club if we're going to go to the shield, and they are 2 shields, but they cannot take a Rock Blast if we're going to 2 shields, because Volt Switch hurts a lot more than Fire Spin does. If it was a Hex Marowak, it would be much different, actually. Hex Marowak is much better. So I'm not sure I can survive 2 counters. So I'm going to throw my Rock Blast right away. Turns out I could. I probably should have thrown, or waited and thrown the Stone Edge, but that was a mistake on my part. I know the matchup a little bit better now and how much damage everything does. So we're going to swap into Frostlass. Like I said earlier, you can stay in and win the 1 shield, but a lot of the times you do want to switch. In my case, what I'm doing is I'm just switching. I'm not going to shield anything on Golem. I just want to get shields down. So unfortunately, the Powder Snow gets through, which is absolutely awful. I had 2 Rock Blasts, right? So this game isn't over yet, and this Obstagoon is probably, definitely going to live this Leaf Blade, but I'm going to barely get that Rage Leaf off before it can quite get to a move. So that game was a little bit harder than it should have been, and that was my fault for not attempting the fast move denial. I don't even think I tried it. It was, I think, kind of bugged the first day. I couldn't fast move deny anything of Holiday Cup, but this day it was working much better. I couldn't, or I just didn't do it in that case. So it's just how, it just shows you how important mechanics are, right? Another Rock Blast there just KOs the Frostlass, and then it's such an easy game in the 1 shield versus 0 with a Leaf Blade loaded on Shadow Victreebel. But another positive set despite some very questionable plays from myself. I think this last set was on a different day. We'll see how this one goes. I think a lot more Charmers this day. So they swap into Drifblim. That's great for me. I really need to get rid of this Drifblim. Both Electric and Rock are good versus it, so I really don't mind. And I'm just going to go for Rock Blast, get them off as soon as I can. I really should have went for Stone Edge. I think, oh no, they shielded. Okay. Because I think they really wanted to keep this Drifblim alive. Doubling down on it. And I blow a shield here. It's just, I really need switch advantage in this case. Well, I don't need it, but I would really like it. And they've already blown 2 shields, so it's not like I'm a shield behind. I've loaded Stone Edge on this Graveler, but unfortunately I'm super debuffed. It honestly might have been worth switching to clear at that point. But I have such a big advantage, it's probably better to make the safe play, right? So what is likely a Night Slash here. I'm not going to shield the first one, because if they get the boost, then I'm in some trouble. But as they swap into Wigglytuff, I am going to throw the Leaf Blade. It's going to deal a ton of damage. I'm going to swap to Alolan Marowak and just farm all the way down so I can get some Wild Charges or Rock Blast or whatever off on the Soft Scoon and just make this an easy game. Yeah. Yeah, so Wild Charge coming in handy for maybe the first time there. Yeah, it was the same thing as when I was running this team, or these 2 Rockbois in Kanto Cup. Wild Charge just didn't really get the usage that it should have. Yeah, another Wigglytuff lead, a lot of Charmer leads. The meta is changing every day in a Holiday Cup. And with Wigglytuff lead, if they stay in, you just farm them all the way down. So another Drifblim. So I'm wondering if someone put out a Wigglytuff Drifblim team, but they're going to come in with Lantern here. And it's Water Gun Lantern. Water Gun Lantern is very strong in this cup, I think. Having access to like off typing damage is pretty valuable, especially when that can be used against some of the types. I just went straight Stone Edge because I wasn't sure if they'd shield their Lantern, knowing that I have a Victreebel. And I'm willing to shield once on Victreebel just to guarantee this goes through. I now have a Sludge Bomb, but Leaf Blade I think does almost as much damage. I probably should have thrown the Sludge Bomb in hindsight, but it doesn't really matter. I've got Alolan Golem. I don't shield the first one. Versus debuffers, you don't shield the first one ever. Because that's their win condition, right? Is if they bait you with the debuff move and then hit you with the Shadow Ball after. That's how you lose the game. So never shield the first one on debuffs. If they hit you, that's fine, right? Like, in this case, I would have still won if they had hit me with a Shadow Ball. It wasn't about the bait. It was about the fact that I didn't call it. We're going to see Frostlass here. I think this is... maybe this is Zionix team. I think it was Zionix team. But with Frostlass in the lead, this is where I realized maybe I can't stay in because I can't really swap to Vigoroth here. And if they have Pokemon that are good in the back against this, then I'm in some issues. But I do swap to catch the Body Slam on Graveler. And then this is the problem. We see this Stunfisk in the back. So this is where I learned if there's a Frostlass in the lead, even though you do beat the Frostlass in the one shield, sometimes it's better to just switch because your backline is good against it too. So it really depends on what kind of teams you're seeing. If you're seeing a lot of the Zionic team, I would switch for sure. You got to draw out this Stunfisk, and then Victreebel can take it out, and then you have a much better shot at winning after that. But yeah, Victreebel does beat all 3 Pokemon on this team. The problem is it just can't beat them. It beats them all in the one shield. You just don't have 3 shields, right? So that's where we run into some issues, where Unova Stunfisk is actually just such a hard counter to these Pokemon. So yeah, if Unova Stunfisk starts becoming more popular, perhaps thinking about a safe switch that doesn't lose so hard to Unova Stunfisk that will still bait it out over a lot of the other counters would be worth the time. But so far, it hasn't been that big of a deal. Lost a couple of games to it for sure, but I mean, a couple of games are lost in all team comps. We've seen Altaria lead here. Not a great lead, but we're going to swap right out. And Vigoroth comes in, so very meta team here. They throw the Body Slam. I'm going to no shield. and I'm going to, they actually get a counter through there on the Rock Blast. So because they get the counter through, I'm thinking I actually can't get to the Stone Edge this time. So if they don't get the counter through, I think I can get to the Stone Edge. But yeah, in this case, I definitely would not have been able to. They have a bit of energy, but I can bring in Victreebel, and I'm going to be able to farm down. I don't have to use a shield here because I haven't taken much counter damage from Vigoroth. So this is a pretty comfortable amount of health for me. The thing is, if they get to the next Body Slam, I'm in some trouble. So I'm going to swap to catch yet another Body Slam. Probably caught like 4 or 5 Body Slams this video. And they're going to come with a Alolan Marowak. So I'm going to shield, because at this health you do kind of have to shield. And I'm going to go for the Rock Blast. So this doesn't actually KO. I think a Wild Charge might have KO'd. So it might have been better to go back to back, but I'm going to spend my last shield on this Alolan Marowak, and I am going to just try and Rock Blast down this Altaria. So this is getting really, really close. These Dragon Breaths really hurt. Altaria isn't actually that hard countered by these Pokemon because it doesn't deal flying damage, it deals dragon damage. But I'm getting Volt Switches off every time, and I'm going to get to a third Rock Blast and take this out. And luckily, my Shadow Victreebel is just healthy enough to take down this Marowak. So catching that Body Slam was absolutely necessary to win that game. So Son Goku is my next opponent. And we're going to see a Venusaur lead. This is obviously not ideal. This is actually really, really bad. Venusaur beats the entire team. And this is the case with a lot of these Victreebel teams. Usually Victreebel is your grass counter a lot of the time. So when your team is weak to grass in the back and they have Venusaur, which is also a Victreebel counter, you have some issues. Luckily, I'm able to burn a shield. And that's the thing, is I need to get these shields down here. Stone Edge absolutely chunks. So if I'm able to win Switch Advantage back, that would be nice. But at the same time, I realize winning Switch Advantage back doesn't matter too much due to the fact that none of my Pokemon can beat Victreebel. So in this case, I should go into the Golem. We'll see what I do. Yeah, I do. So I talked about this earlier in the video. If you have the choice about which one to go into Golem. For sure. Just because you can clear Wild Charge debuffs, and the energy is much more valuable. So in this case, I'm going to swap, and I am going to just try and Razor Leaf this thing down before it realizes what's happening. I can't shield, because I have to save shields for later. And this Venusaur lets me get to a Leaf Blade. So I'm going to throw this, try and do as much damage as I can, and luckily it CMP tied with me with a Frenzy Plant. So it doesn't have very much energy. I have a shield, and I'm going to just commit to farming all the way down. This game is by no means over. But Rock is neutral against Rock, and Electric is not very effective against Electric. So using Rock Blast here is good. Unfortunately, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to this this next Rock Blast versus them. It might have been an overtap or something like that too, because I feel like they were actually at the Rock Blast there. I think that was an overtap. But Alolan Golem beats Alolan Graveler and CMP due to being slightly squishier. And I'm going to be able to pick up that win there. So turns out you can beat a Pokemon or a team where your entire team loses to their lead. It's just very hard, and you need to play around it very carefully. I'd be a little bit lucky with the rest of their team comp. So yeah, that's the team. Hopefully be coming out with some more. If I find it's some success with any other teams, I'd love to make some more videos. But Holiday Cup has been a very interesting meta. It's changing very fast. It's hard to find anything with any consistency, but since you're breaking into the 2700s, I've since lost that rating, but that's okay. It's not too big of a deal. Whoops, not sure why that is showing. But yeah, as always, I'm just going to leave the links in the description to my video for Patreon, Discord, all that fun stuff. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.